All right, Ken. We got one more topic. We're gonna
Interesting.
run it down. Yeah. We've been going for an hour and a half. We're gonna finish strong because that's how we do. It's a family topic.
Uh, family topic. Come on, bro. I'm
Yes,
I'm,
sir.
I'm feeling it right now. So.
All right. All right. We're gonna start light, then we're gonna end heavy. So the keys to a happy
Oh
marriage
Lord.
from a husband's point of view. We know the wives are gonna have different answers. And the wives are gonna see this podcast, and we make sure we're gonna show up and we're gonna show out. Because this will be uploaded and they're gonna be watching. So the keys to a happy marriage from the husband's perspective. Let's get it. Don't get too graphic now. We gotta keep it for this stuff for the paywall, behind the paywall. Gotta keep it PG.
All
What's
I'm gonna
it?
say is anytime you gotta get that many goddamn disclaimers.
I know, right? It's no longer barbershop talk, right?
Oh
Right. I got
man,
you.
bro. So
You want me
the
to start? You want me to
keys
start? Or
to
you got it.
um I listen. I'll take the lead from you because recently in this topic in life, I've been kind of deferring listening to you. Look, it's my turn. It's my turn to sit back and take and listen just a little bit.
Oh, you gonna defer? Okay.
I'm gonna defer this time.
The keys to a happy marriage for a man, for a husband,
Are you saying in general, or are you saying for you?
for a man, for in general, a man. But for me, of course, I'm gonna live vicariously through the question.
Okay, so we talking about in general, or we
We're
talking about
talking about in
individually?
general. We're talking about in general, but we're gonna live vicariously through the answer, so they could take it how they want to take it.
Mike said it.
Okay. All right. So, Ken, we simple, brother. We simple. All we want is submission and cooperation. Period. Point blanks. Let's stop right there. The keys to a happy marriage. I know the plan that I have set because I invited you into my plan, right? They say women control access to men control access to marriage. So if I'm asking you to marry me, then obviously I have a plan set. So I need you to get on board with this plan. I need you to submit to this plan, get on board with this plan, cooperate with this plan. Brother, if I want to raise my kids a certain way, as far as boundaries, as far as chores, as far as morality or whatever, then I think I'm afforded that right. No? This is yes or no?
I
No?
agree.
Okay. All right.
Yes. Yes.
But a lot of times in marriage, there's a fight for control, a subconscious fight for control for whatever reason, because inherently the man is supposed to lead the relationship. So I feel like a woman tries to find some type of control or leadership within that marriage, and it a lot of times bucks against the man's program, and I think that's where a lot of marriages get in trouble. You may see
Mm.
this family going in this direction, and then the wife feels like, well, I'm losing control. Like, well, what am I supposed to do? I'm just here. I'm just in his world. And then all of a sudden, there's a clash. And now the things that aren't important to her, that are important to you, she'll elevate those things that aren't important to her, and it will conflict with what you're trying to do. And then the marriage no longer is happy because there's a conflict of values. Now she's saying, well, what he's saying is not important, blah, 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 blah. And you're saying like, yo, I thought we was on the same page. So I feel like cooperation is of the utmost important to a happy marriage. The values must align. There can't be a good cop, bad cop scenario in a marriage. There can't be where the child is like, all right, well, dad don't like this, but mom don't care about this. So I'm gonna go over here with mom.
Mm.
Because that's going to cause a conflict with the mother and the mother and the father, because I'm looking at my wife like, yo, what we talked about this, 1, 2, 3 break. We talked about this. Why is this going like that? So that's I think that's the biggest key to a happy marriage. Me and my wife talked about this on our anniversary. I asked her what was the things that kept this relationship together, and that was one of my biggest things: values. If the values on the line, I feel like that's the glue. If you guys don't believe in the same thing and believe the family and the marriage should go in a certain direction, bro, it's that's the foundation. It's gonna crumble eventually. So I'll just stop right there. What say you, Ken?
What say I? Well, to your point, I agree with everything that you're stating in principle and also in practicality. I definitely feel like the values need to align. Um, but bro, this is deep. This is a deep question.
It is.
Because I'll be honest, you you think you understand the keys to a happy marriage, but I think that when you put the marriage above self, I don't think that's a happy marriage. Think about it. The sacrifice that you make in a marriage, they're supposed to give a return, right? Because the ideal thought that you're in a happy marriage, you're happy,
Right.
right?
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes you could be working towards a happy marriage, and the only thing that's happy is the marriage. I think that I'm gonna let you let them marinate. Um, I think that the most important key um is I think they're one A and one B. I think vulnerability and communication.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it's interesting because I thought it was communication, right? Because I feel like if you could communicate and you can talk about things, that's the key. But talking don't get it done. And I understand that in marriage there has to be change. You have to be willing to change and alter and realign. And I feel like in order to do that, you have to exercise some form of vulnerability.
Yeah.
From a man's standpoint, for a man to settle down and let's say if communication is everything, you talk. Well, before I can be the man that I want you, that you need me to be, I gotta be vulnerable. I gotta be okay with saying like, okay, I'm not comfortable with this, and but I'm gonna try. I've never done this, but I'm gonna try. Um, this is foreign to me. I'm gonna try. I don't trust this, but I'm gonna try.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so from the standpoint that I see things, I think vulnerability. You have to be able to be vulnerable. If you come into a marriage and you are set, especially if you're a woman, because I'm coming from the mindset that um, I believe a man should have a plan because he's asking for a wife to marry him, and he has a plan for the family. And when that plan is communicated, the woman accepts, and then you move in the direction of that plan. So I think that it's important that when you take on that acceptance as a woman, you got to be okay with being vulnerable. You can't come into a marriage talking about I'm the type of wife that, I'm the type of woman that, I'm the type of such and such that, right?
Yeah.
What that does is that doesn't just close your partner off to certain things. That puts you in a mental strife where you're trying to, you're blocking an opportunity for something great. I know that prior to me getting married this time, my wife and I had a conversation. We had many conversations about um, the life we wanted to live and how we wanted to, how our we saw our kids, and how the family came together, this, that, and the other. And I know that for me, um, once we talked about that before I asked her to marry me, I made sure I checked myself to put myself in a situation where I can I can drive that bus that we created. And my thought process was that, okay, we've talked about these things. This is what you want in life. This is what I want out of life. We good. I'm asking you to marry me. And in that question, in that proposal, you're
Yep.
proposing that I'm going to lead you to the life that we discussed. And if you say I do, that means I do submit. I do um acknowledge that I have to change because I can't get there myself. I do understand that I have to be led, and me being led doesn't make me less of a woman. Doesn't make me less of who I am. Um, and I think that as an adult woman, right? Not we're not talking about a teenager or somebody young. You have to be okay with being vulnerable to yourself and trusting that. And I think that's something that you can't just do in the beginning. I think you gotta stay that way and remain that way all the way through, because that vulnerability is what allows you to change.
I agree. You hit on some very important aspects of marriage. I was more so talking about the overall aspect. You deep dove right into the crux of a marriage, and there's vulnerability on both sides. You because
Yeah.
that's how you build a strong marriage, being vulnerable. Because vulnerability is humility, and humility breeds change. So you got to be able to be molded.
Yes,
You got to be like clay. You have to be able to be formed into the person that your mate needs. And so without that,
bro.
what you call it? Without that vulnerability, you're like a stone. You can't
Yeah,
form a stone. A stone is hard. It's hard hit. So you need that vulnerability to make
bro.
yeah, to make you moldable. So that you hit on that was very, very I mean, I would have expounded on that, but I'm glad that you added on to that because as a husband and a wife, you have to be ever changing to get this thing right, like a Rubik's cube. You can't be stuck in your ways. Like you say, you can't. Well, this is how I am, and this is what it is. No, no. You got to be ready to change, mold, and conform to what the situation calls for to sustain a strong marriage. So that was good.
Yeah. Um, I think that some other things that come to mind as I think about um a happy marriage. Um,
Well, okay, hold on. Before you speak, when I say happy, I just mean a satisfying marriage. I don't mean like oh, everything's like, because, marriages go ebbs and flows, but just a successful, content marriage. What are the keys?
well, I
Because
think
everybody,
you know what I think the word marriage is all it means is commitment,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Um, and I think that I don't think let's take happy. Let's take those adjectives out. Let's just say the keys to marriage. Because when you're in it, you're in it. You know what I mean?
hmm
I think one of the keys, man, is foresight, bro. If you're not really looking ahead,
that's
what are you
dangerous
doing?
for anybody. Yeah,
Like if you're stuck in what you doing, what's going on right now, you're not looking ahead, you're not anticipating, you're not being nimble. I think that's tough, bro. It's tough for a marriage to survive that. Um, I think if I think um I say intimacy, bro. I think that's very, very important to a
Very.
commitment, bro.
Yeah.
I think all humans require intimacy. And we're
Yeah.
not talking just sex, bro.
No, that's not
Um,
what intimacy is. But go ahead. I'm gonna let you rock.
yeah, for those who don't understand, I think intimate moments, man. I think when I think of intimate moments, I think of conversations that connect you. I think thoughts
Yep.
that um I mean, you know, thoughts that arouse you, really get you like, wow. Um I think just basic actions um keep things intimate. I think everybody has their own personal value system, but when you have somebody else to tap into that value system and acknowledge you in a way that that you see valuable, not they see valuable, right? A way that you see valuable. I think
Right.
that's very intimate. Getting into somebody, like to understand them to the point where you're addressing them for them, not for you for them. Um, I think that's deep. Um, I think that's really important, bro.
Yeah. You
I
just
think going
again.
beyond your,
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go
I'm
ahead.
about to say, I think going beyond yourself, um, making sure that you're a part of something or you're supportive of something that fills your partner. You know, I think those things are really, really important. And I think just the process of doing that, of learning it, I think you should always be learning your partner. I think you should always, bro. You should always be attentive. You should always be watching and thinking and processing. Because truth be told, I'm not a Bible thumper, but marriage is when two souls become one.
Hmm.
So in order to become one, you have to really indulge. And it's not intrusive, but you have to really indulge. You don't have to like it, right? But you have to indulge in those situations and those circumstances so that you can have that intimate connection with that other person. Go ahead with that.
No, I agree.
Awesome.
I agree. I mean, you hitting on all cylinders tonight. You said marriage two becomes one. When I'm hungry, what do? I go get something to eat. Same thing with my spouse. Not when she gets hungry, but I'm saying the same thing with my spouse. That's how attentive I should be with my spouse, and she should be attentive with me. She's supposed to learn me as well as I should learn her, just like I learn my own body. I learn what foods I should stay away from. I learn what foods make me bloated. I learn what dairy products to stay away from if I'm lactose intolerant. I learn myself. So the same thing with a marriage. That's how intentional um, that marriage should be. That was totally fact.
Ooh,
What's up? What happened?
say that word, intentional.
Intentional. Yeah. Like I was just thinking
Intentional.
when you was talking about intimacy. As I get older, I appreciate the intimacy because that keeps us connected. That keeps you and your spouse connected. Because life gets in the
Yes.
way, kids get in the way, the job gets in the way. When you have that alone time where you just sitting around just chatting it up, and I'm not talking about each other, talking about somebody else's relationship. When you're just talking and talking about each other and how'd your day go, and just getting to know each other again. Because every day you got to get to know your spouse again, because life gets in the way. So every day you got to stay connected. So once that intimacy hits, then once that connection is connected, then whatever happens after that happens after that. But it's a positive gain after that. So that is so true with the intimacy. The intimacy is paramount, absolutely paramount in a relationship because intimacy costs nothing. You don't have to go to STK. You don't have to go to Morton D Steakhouse. You don't have to go to what's that seafood place? You don't have to go to these. You don't have to spend a whole bunch of money to get intimacy. All it takes is time, commitment, and conversation to get to know your spouse, your loved one. And I'm telling you, like you said, and me and my wife talk about this. We know when we get disconnected. We try to, and immediately we try to find ways to reconnect in some kind of way. If it ain't a date, if it ain't talking, it's something. We always know when we're disconnected because we'll treat each other like roommates. We'll let life, or I'll let life get in the way, and we'll just start slowly, not purposefully, but slowly separating. And we'll notice it and be like, oh, we got to correct course and do something. If it ain't just intimacy and talking, we got to do something to get this ship back on course. And I said ship with a P. So that was, again, you just nailed another important facet to a marriage. Is intimacy, vulnerability, the willing to change, and intimacy, the willing to connect and communicate. You got it.
So that's interesting, something that you thought about, bro. Um, I think when you say intentional, I think you have to be married with intent. And I think if you're married with intent, when those drifting moments comes, I think if both people are intentional, I think either party should be able to pull it back in. You know how draining it is being the one to try to initiate the dialogue to pull you back in.
Let me go get my wife. I don't
That's what
know.
I'm.
Let me go get my wife. I don't know. She'll know. She'll be the
Oh
one.
Jesus! Don't do that.
Yeah. I'm just saying. That's my. I can't. I'm not saying I
Well,
don't initiate, but I'm just saying I can bring her down here and she'll be amen and high fiving you right now, like yeah.
bro, I'm on the other side of that fence, bro. I think I mean, I know in my marriage, I'm the communicator. Whether it's a soft conversation or it's the tough conversations, I'm the one who initiates it all, bro. And not that I have a problem with it, but Mary can probably attest to this. You don't want to take it personal, but you start thinking, um, is the commitment level the same? Is this does the other person see value in these conversations, or are we just gonna keep it going like everything is okay? And then you start asking yourself, okay, you know, because you don't want to lose your marriage. You like, damn, what happens if I don't try to find these moments to either have this hard conversation, talk about this, or just to step out moments. Hey, let's go on a date. Let's go sit down and, let's just chop it up and talk about these things. Because we all can play the get along what is it, the get along game. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah.
It don't, and I think this is important. It doesn't have to be beef for a conversation to be necessary. It doesn't have to be a life altering moment for dialogue to be needed. I think those are moments of intimacy. And I think that if you get married with intent, like you said, you have to understand that it's balance. So you don't even want your partner pulling the weight of having to always pull things back together. Um, yeah, that's important.
Hmm. Yeah. So I guess we agree. Saying there's no agreeing to disagree on that one. We definitely see eye to eye on that one. I say more so. I say more so. You're the community. I'm not a communicator, as you can see even on the podcast. I don't do much talking. I talk, but I don't talk like you can talk. You could talk. You can eloquently put words together and just boom and rock. So yes, you're the communicator. And so I would say to you that I would not interpret that as she's not on the same level as far as commitment or whatever. I'm on the other side. I'm not a communicator. So my wife is the one that brings a lot of things. Listen, my wife brings a lot of things out of me. And it's not that I don't feel the same. It's just I don't display them the same way. I'm not saying
I
your
respect it.
situation like me. I'm just saying don't just automatically write it up as because you don't communicate like I do, then that must mean blah 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 blah. Because no, that's not it. You opposites attract. Me, hold on. Me in your situation. If I was in your situation, it would be an immediate divorce because we're the same. I ain't talking about you. I'm saying your
Yeah,
wife
yeah,
and
my wife.
me,
Yeah, I get it.
we're the same. So that will crash and burn fast. Because they'd be like, "Oh, you don't care? Well, fuck, I don't care." Then it'd be that type of thing. So she
Okay.
needs you. I'm not saying you need her, but she needs you to pull it out of her. Now you can come to a time where you're tired of trying to pull it out of her. I'll give you that. But I'm just saying, what you got going on is better fit than her being with somebody exactly like her. It would not work. And the same thing with me. I need my wife, whether I want to or know it or not. I need her to bring certain things out of me. It's there, but I don't readily express it. Not because I don't love her. It just doesn't come natural. I can go through a day, have all these gushy feelings, and don't say nothing because it's a passing
Mm,
feeling. I'm not quick to be like, "Oh, that's how I'm feeling. Let me let her know." It'll pass. I'm like, "Oh, yeah, I know my wife. She." And then I'm still driving the truck, and it's just a passing thought. She never knew, and she's sitting there thinking like, "Damn, this nigga don't ever. He don't ever." But I do. But I just don't. It's not second nature to say it. So I'm just saying that I hear what you're saying. I sympathize with what you're saying only because I'm married to my wife. So and y'all are kind of similar in how you guys communicate. So I'm saying I'm not saying how she. I'm not saying she's feels how you want her to feel, but I'm saying don't automatically charge it to the game that it's not what you want it to be. She just may not express it the way you do. You have to pull it out of it, which is it's a sad thing, but that's just the way it is, bro.
So, so what's interesting is, I learned that approach from listening to you, from us talking, and what I've taken from that is that it's not personal,
It's definitely not
right?
personal. Yeah, but
Even
you
the
know what I'm saying?
feedback I was giving you with when you were talking about Mary, you know, she has to understand it's not personal. It's just who he is, and that doesn't mean it's a attack on you. But what I have to do is I have to get to a point where you're accepting that it's not personal, and
Right.
then once you get to that acceptance, the expectation of all these voids, or I don't want to say all these voids because I don't want it to sound like that, but the expectation um is kind of gone, because until you've accepted it, right, you're kind of hopeful changes are gonna come. You know what I mean? You waiting on Jesus. You know what I'm saying? But once you once you find out, bro, this is just me and
Bad
Jesus.
comparison. Bad
Yeah,
comparison. Jesus ain't coming.
uh,
I'm just
I'm just,
saying.
that's a different topic for a different day. But no, um,
Yeah.
I say that to say this: once you understand who you are, two things happen with me. Um, I stopped taking things personally. Um, I gravitated more to the things that I love about her. Um,
Yeah.
and I'm still, it's a process. You have to, you find yourself in the process of trying to figure out what's truly valuable to you. Are these things that I would like to be different, how important are they to me personally? And once you look at those things, you have to really be honest with yourself. And that's a tough place. But what I'm learning is that um although we're one, I'm an individual person too. I gotta be accountable to myself. And if there are things that I'm not getting, it's okay with going and doing, you know, b- making sure that I'm good. And there's nothing wrong with that. I've been a selfless person. And I think you have to be a selfless person as a husband and in the leadership position, because I don't care what it is. I don't think you'll ever get a complete return on the investment that you make. And I think you go into it understanding that. But back to the point where you realize that you've accepted what you have, and now you accept what you're not going to get from that person, what's not natural from that person. You evaluate how important those things are to you, and then you start filling those gaps yourself. um and you just continue to communicate, because I think another place of discomfort would be is if your spouse makes changes and it is disingenuine. Not saying that they don't want to make the change for you, but now that you know that's not them, and it's not, these things aren't valuable to them, if it starts happening, it's not harmonious. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I think you were telling me something. Let's use this example, because I'm gonna keep our conversations that we have to us. But let's say you had the type of woman that she was like, you never buy me flowers, you never buy me flowers, right? And you've been going through it for years, just not buying flowers. You'll get her some flowers every now and then, and or whatever, right? Well, I think there's something behind the desire of wanting flowers, because if you really wanted to, and she knew it, you set a reminder on your phone every Wednesday at 3 o'clock. Stop and get Mary flowers. Stop and get Mary flowers. Stop and get Mary flowers. And you started getting flowers. If she found out that you were doing that because of a reminder, it
That was
wouldn't have
something.
the significance.
Yeah, it wouldn't hit the
That
same.
would, yeah. So, and I say that to say this, that once you accept who a person is, you have to understand that any alteration is kind of like there's a reminder and there's just a box checked. So now you have to ask yourself, was it the flowers, or do you want to be considered in some type of way?
Well, let me
You know what I mean?
interject. Let me interject. It would hit different if you talked about it and said this is where you lack, and then you saw updates. Or but if you didn't have a problem with something, let's say you was in a relationship and you thought your girl was just great in this area, and then she was great and consistent in this one area, and then you found out that it was all scheduled, you wouldn't be upset about it. You'd probably be like, wow, she's really motivated, and she really want to make sure that she showed me some appreciation. It would hit a little different, wouldn't it? What's up, BDB?
What's good
What's
with
up,
it?
brother?
How you feeling? How
Um,
you? Salute, salute.
Salute, my brother.
salute.
Real quick, hold on.
So,
Let me hold on. Let me catch BD up. So what we're really talking about, real quick, because I appreciate you joining us, giving us a little bit of your time. We're asking, what are the keys to marriage or relationship? Like, um, what are the fundamental things that you need to have in place in order to make sure you have a solid marriage or a solid relationship? May it be commitment. We talked about commitment. We talked about vulnerability. We talked about intimacy, communication. We spoke on a myriad of things. This is what we're talking about right now. So I'm gonna let Ken say his piece, and then we're gonna let you give your piece on what you think are the keys to a marriage or a good, strong relationship. Go ahead, Ken.
all right. So to answer your question, I'm just gonna back up a little bit. So again, once you've accepted who a person is, right? and you understand that, part of that process of figuring out what's important to you, that's the stage that you're in, Mike. That's the stage that I'm talking about. So if that person, as the person who's understanding and who's accepting of their partner, and this you this just what I got to deal with now, the things that you feel like you aren't getting, right? As they if they come, the decisions that you're making is you're trying to figure out what the value. So we brought the example up of, you know, you never buy me flowers, right? So as an individual, if I was the person that says, no, we can't say that. You never buy me, I can't think of something that a guy would want. You never make me steak or whatever, right? Because
Game.
I can't. I know, pause, no rainbow with me, bro. I can't even think of an example that's anywhere like a woman. But my I say that to say that if it were the woman and her argument was you never buy me flowers, and it's been something that you've been talking about, we're talking about years now. We're not talking about in the beginning relationship, Mike, which is what I wanted to definitely point out. And you come to the realization like that's just not him. He still loves me, but flowers is just not him. Well, the person that's in that situation that accepts you, now what happens is if you're bringing him flowers, I mean, he's bringing you flowers, right? And you find out that he's bringing you flowers because he had to put a reminder and tell Siri every Tuesday at 6, stop and get married some flowers. If she finds out that that's the reason, part of that process is how important is it to me? Is it important that I just have this tangible thing of flowers, or is it important for me to be thought about and considered, right? Marriage, regardless of what anybody wants to say, it is filled with emotion, right? So I think part of at least my situation is trying to really check my own personal emotions, because I'm at a situation like, okay, am I pissed because I ain't getting no flowers? Pause. Or because if I look at it a certain way, like, nigga, if I really want flowers, I can go get my own flowers. Or is it that you want what those flowers represent? You want consideration. You want this, you want that. So the next stage of that is trying to look at the things that you love about your partner and think, okay, maybe the way that she's showing me consideration is this. Oh, I never thought about that. That's how she shows me consideration. Well, those are her flowers that she's giving me.
Mm,
Well,
mhm.
the next stage of that is, do you like her flowers? Are her flowers for you?
Right.
Right? It's her way of showing that. You know, we can go to love language. If her way of expressing that is that, what does that do for you as an individual? And that's the stage that I think a lot of marriages, if they're transparent enough, that's the stage they have to go through, especially when you come to a point where that vulnerability is gone, when you got an individual that is a stone, that you can't add nothing to it. You know, they are what they are. They'll alter a little bit. You could chip a little bit off, but they still that stone. That's the type of person I am. You know what I mean? So I think even for my situation, having a person that was stagnant on who they are, um, and that person selling you that these things can be changed, we can work on it. But reality is when you sit back and look at it, okay, that's really who you are. Now you got to look at it and say, where's the value at? What do you really value as an individual? That's my
Okay.
take.
What do you say, BD? From what you know heard so far, what are the keys to marriage / relationship? If you want to add on to what he said, or expound on that, go ahead. But that's the question that we got up.
Um, yeah, I definitely concur with what everything he's saying because those are definitely some valuable things. I would say for right now, me and my lady, um, probably learning as much as we can about one another, like seeing what we have in common, like our self pros and cons. What do we like? What do we dislike? What do we agree on? What do we not agree on? What do we just overall have in common with?
Values.
Yeah, you know, our wants and needs, making sure, you know, they're balanced, you know, 50 scale. What we want, what we need from each other, what we're expecting. Definitely those things for sure. You know, that's something I'm definitely learning right now that she's also teaching me. Because it, you know, once you have all those things, it makes you an even better person. You know, of course, you got to stay dedicated and committed to all of those things, but it makes you a better person. But it also makes you, it makes the relationship, you know, having that tight knit bond. So now you become, you know, one cohesive unit because you're on the same page with, you know, everything. So definitely learning those and finding everything out, I think are definitely like the most important things. Of course, you know, love, trust, commitment, communication, all those things. But just the recent conversation that I had with my lady was, you know, really learning what we have in common and what we don't, and making sure those always outweigh the things that we don't have in common. Because we have too many things in common. It's like, all right, it's not really going to work. It's not going to last very long. But if we have more in common than we don't, that definitely strengthens that bond for sure. That's what I think.
So okay, that's a good take. So what do you say to when you guys have a disagreement on, I don't know, values, or disagreement on love languages, and for lack of better terms, or how do you iron those situations out where you're not getting your needs met or she's not getting her needs met? How do you address that? How do you find a
I would
common
say
ground?
um, just more so just learning to just talk and really communicate, having like those sit down, almost kind of like therapy sessions in a sense, without actually having to go to a licensed professional. Um, yeah, that's definitely something I'm learning right now to do is, to really just talk and just, you know, spill everything out, get it all out on the table. Even if it's tough, it becomes a situation where it might get a little emotional. It's like at least now we know, because there were some things that I didn't realize that I was doing, vice versa. But now that we've made each other aware of it, it's like, okay, now it makes it easier to go forward and progress. But of course, it's all things you have to self commit and dedicate to. If there is an issue, you got to make sure you learn from the mistakes and go forward to make sure that doesn't become a reoccurring thing. So I would definitely say that for sure.
But what if,
I,
but what
that's
would
what
you, I'm sorry, what would you do if you guys did talk about it, work through it, and it still didn't get resolved? What is your next step? Let's say you have a complaint, a legitimate cause for complaint, and you guys have talked about it. Um, you've had intimacy about it. You have communications. You've been vulnerable. She's been vulnerable, but yet still there's no results. What's your move,
that's a good question.
or how do you
Uh,
process it? Do you take it as disrespect? Like, how do you view the fact that, all right, we talked about it, she was receptive, but yet after we end the conversation and start the new week and the new month, there's barely any change. Like, what's your next move, or how do you process that?
it's funny because I've kind of been in a situation like that recently. I think the best thing to do is to just kind of reset, you know, and just really analyze the situation and figure out, okay, what went wrong? What caused this to get to where we are now? And figuring out, okay, if we didn't come to an amicable solution, what other options are there on the table that are still available for us to look at and figure out, okay, we tried this one, that didn't work. All right, let's try this one. all right, that didn't work. You just keep going until you find that one option that does benefit both of you. That I think
Okay.
is like the way to handle that. Because briefly, that's kind of what ended up happening in my situation. Without saying too much, we had a little bit of a
Yeah.
disagreement.
We're not trying to put personal
Yeah,
business there, but I agree with you. I've had that similar situation. My wife has that situation with me. But in those situations like that, it's really tough. It brings out the humility in you if you have it. It makes you consider the goods and the bads, the pros and the cons. When you're not getting the results that you want, you start to look at it like, all right, because the pride in you is saying, all right, I'm out, right? The pride is saying, okay, bet, I can, woo, woo. Then you have to reflect like, all right, the things I value in you outweigh this thing that I'm tug of warring with you. You get what I'm saying? So you have to decide, is this thing that I'm warring with you more valuable than the good that you bring to the table? Because if it
That's right back
is,
to my point.
right, because if it is, then you got to make a decision. But if your good outweighs this thing that I'm warring with you about, then I need to humble myself, I guess, and accept and keep working, keep fighting, keep hammering, be more patient at this said result that I'm looking for. Not just say, all right, I'm just going to accept you for who you are because 80% of you is good and 20% of you irks me. No, I'm gonna keep hammering at the 20%, but I'm not gonna leave you over the 20%. I'm gonna
yeah,
keep this thing going because you far outweigh the bad. But I have to be humble and be patient to work with you where you lack. Because I'm not gonna trade 20%. I'm not gonna trade an 80% woman in because she's lacking at 20%. That's
oh yeah,
stupid. No, that vice versa. No woman should do that. No man should do that. Because the next person you get with that has that 20% may lack in other areas. So I'd rather keep the 80%. And I don't know if that's a loser mentality or whatever mentality, but I would rather hold on the 80% and work on the 20%, be patient and work on the 20% versus throwing in somebody that's 80% what I want and trying to rediscover that through somebody else, which then nobody's 100%. If they're 100%,
oh
then
yeah,
they're not going to me because I'm not 100%. Nobody's perfect. So if I ever stumbled across a
Yeah.
100% woman, now the pressure's on me because I'm not 100%. Now she's gonna be looking at you like you gotta now you gotta be 100%, right? So I
Yeah.
would rather pick right the first time, get the 80%, and then we'll work on the 20%. And then I gotta be humble enough to work with the 20% and patient enough. Go ahead, Ken.
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. I was gonna say, I agree. I definitely agree with what you're saying. Um, but I think what's important is this too, man. And I learned this, and I learned this from a failed marriage. And I'm not gonna say it failed, but I learned from a marriage that didn't
It ended.
that didn't last as long as, yeah, that ended. That didn't last as long as it could have maybe. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but I think you gotta be realistic. Um, don't sell yourself or your capability for the sake of what you think the marriage needs. What I mean is, BD, if you and your wife had a conversation, and let's change it because I don't want to make it seem like we bashing the women. So let's say you and your wife had a conversation. It was something that she brought to the table that was um, a legitimate concern of hers or a legitimate desire, something that she needed you to change. And she's brought it up. Y'all talked about it, and you like, you know what? I got this, babe. I got it. And y'all had to revisit it, right? Because again, patience is a virtue, right? You revisit it,
Yeah,
revisit it, revisit it. Well, I feel like if you revisited certain things so much, you got to really ask yourself, am I just trying to do this just for sake of the marriage? Or is it something that just who I am? Baby, can you accept this about me? Because what tends to happen is a person will get tired of keep hearing that change is going to come, right? It can be wholehearted, it can be genuine, it can be with the best intentions. But I'm telling you, there comes a point where she's just going to have to accept who you are and reevaluate how important that shortcoming is to her. So I think before we say what we're going to change, make sure that that's something that you want to change inside you, and you see that that change will benefit the marriage. You see that change has value, because if you're doing it for the sake of the marriage to go along and get along, and just
It's not
because you
gonna
have great intentions, that doesn't mean that the outcome is going to come, and you could be bringing more stress to your marriage than help in that situation.
what you say, BD.
That was
Pause, bro. Wait. What's
BD,
your mama call you Daniel? I'm gonna call you Daniel.
BD. What? All right,
I,
I didn't
I
say
can't call him BD because I see.
BD.
Hey,
he never.
look. I see his name and I can read initials. I know what the B and the D stand for, so
I
I
didn't say
can't
BD.
pause.
I said
Can't go
BD.
there. I can't go there.
I said on the left. I said, look, BD, BDB, beer, Eddie else is fine. I mean, you want to say Big Daddy, say Big
I'm
Daddy.
gonna call it.
I mean, like, I don't do the
Look. He know what that BD mean.
Right. Oh, that's why you. Oh, he done told on himself. He the only one on there. Like what?
Pause. Pause.
BD. No, for real.
I'm just,
Uh,
I'm just too old to do the small thing. Like I had to. I think it gets out of control, especially unless you're like doing stuff that's making you like, hey, whoa, okay, like, but, I mean, like I said, it's cool. That's funny though. But no, yeah, no, definitely like what you said. That's like those are like kind of like self-evaluating questions that you have to ask yourself. You know, am I just doing this, just for the sake of it, or am I doing it because I really truly care and I'm trying to make a difference. I'm trying to really make it work, or am I just kind of like, ends work? All right, this is too much. So yeah, it's definitely like a thing that you have to kind of formulate an answer to. It's like questions. So yeah, I definitely agree with that for sure. Though.
Mike, I want to ask this question, bro.
What's up?
In order in order for those conversations to happen, right? Dialogue has to be there. Um, Transparency has to be there. It has to be like when you're talking for somebody to make a change. The why am I changing? They have to have complete bought in value that that change is going to benefit the marriage. How important do you think that part of it is?
Whatever change you're trying to achieve, the responsibility is upon the person that wants to change to be able to articulate it to the person that they're expecting a change from. So if I'm expecting a change from said spouse, those intimate conversations that we have as a man, we have to be able to shape, mold the conversation, to drop game, to show them why it's important for them to change in a relationship, to give them examples, outside examples. The husband is the lead. So we have to, as a lead, we have to give proper diagnosis to a situation. If I'm expecting a change from my wife, I have to. The responsibility is upon me, and the responsibility is upon the woman also if she wants change. But I'm speaking for myself. The responsibility is upon me to be able to articulate it, illustrate it in a way that she can see the benefit of it, and hopefully make a change. Because what I've learned as a parent, that when a child does not understand why they're not supposed to do something, they're less likely to listen to what you're saying. But if you can explain the why and illustrate the outcomes of not do or doing said thing, then they can see the importance of it. Same thing with us with your loved one. It's one thing to tell your spouse what your love language is, or it's one thing to tell your spouse what you expect from them or whatever, what you would like from them. It's another thing to connect with them and show them, to illustrate the importance of it, not just personally, but to illustrate it through other means. Because anytime you tell me something or I tell my spouse something, automatically they're on defense. They turn into Johnny Cochran, right? They playing defense. They turn to Rodman. They spotting, batting, rebounding. They playing defense. If you can take the illustration away from them and show them something tangible from another aspect and how it was beneficial over there, then they'll be more likely to receive the information because it's not personal. We talked about this, Ken. Remember the last guy that stepped aside and said he quit? He took it personal, and it wasn't personal, right? So anytime you're trying to resolve conflict, anytime you're trying to resolve conflict, don't make it personal. If you don't make it personal, the person will receive it. Once you make it personal, they turn into Johnny Cochran, and the message is lost. So that's my thing. You could bring whatever you want to bring up, but the resolve has to be an outside. The illustration of the resolve has to be outside of that person. You can't make it personal. Once you make it personal, the human nature is to play defense and not hear what you said, but to make excuses to why said thing wasn't executed. If that makes any sense.
Oh yeah.
Makes good sense. So what you think? You think we could close that topic? You want to take a step elsewhere?
Yeah, well, I think we could let BD do his thing, do his little promo, because we only got BD for a little bit. He said he'll jump on for a little bit and drop some nuggets, but we'll let BD have the last words and do your promo, and then we'll let you get up out of there because we know you've been streaming all day. This is probably his third, fourth stream today, Mike. So we appreciate any minutes you can give us.
Oh yeah. Absolutely. It's always a dope vibe, chopping it up with y'all, talking about real stuff that, a lot of people can relate to and, enjoy for entertainment purposes. It's different. It's definitely must need for, people that are in situations like ours that, are not sure how to handle it or how to assess it. So if they hear from other people's perspectives, I think that can help them with whatever the situation is or whatever the topic is about. So it's definitely dope in regards to that. As far as like promotions, come check out the Battle of the Bars and the Battle of the Beats on my Debate Table podcast on my YouTube channel. Shout out to Mike Check, who just came through earlier today. We just did an episode to close out the first round of preliminaries. So very dope battle. Actually, I got you coming back for the next one on November 2nd. So that's gonna be a good one, man. Whew.
Is that next week or no?
No, the following Sunday. All the battles are every 2 weeks.
Gotcha. Okay.
So I got time to advertise stuff like that. So it's actually funny since you got marriage and relationships, because my next mystery beat battle for Battle of the Beats is actually going to be R&B and soul related songs. Mm-hmm. So for all the what I call LLC, ladies, lovers, and couples, anybody that's tuning in, come and check that one out. That's actually going to be next Sunday, October 26th, and then the next rap battle will be Sunday, November 2nd. So yeah, definitely come through and check both of those out. It's gonna be some good matchups. Definitely.
You need more judges?
What's that?
You need more judges? Yeah, I was trying to get 10 during the night, but you can't get enough judges. So he's a hip hop aficionado, so that's why I was trying to get him up on there.
We've been trying, Ken just do this and then he just leave us. He's like, yeah, that's it. I'm good.
You told him about me or something, bro.
Yeah, I mean, if you ever want to, like right now, I mean, pretty much all the slots are full. But if someone backs out, if you definitely want to join in, any episodes that Mike's on, he'll copy and forward the link over to you. Yeah, you can definitely join in. I mean, you can always join in from the live chat too on any of the matchups and stuff. But yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, panel judge. Yeah. If anybody drops out, like I said, I'll let you know. I'll try to do it like as soon as possible because sometimes like I'll send the memos out and they'll get everything, and then I kind of do that early setup like an hour before we go. So if no one pops up, drop out coming up on this. Yeah, I'll definitely let you know. Send it over to Ken. Yeah, you can definitely join the panel.
Yeah, keep me posted, brother. I support it. I've been on a couple of them. I think they're pretty dope. Time permissions are something that I run into from every now and then. But definitely, I will support as necessary as I can.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I also have a series coming next year after this tournament wraps up. So I'm definitely looking for tons of judges for that one. So if you definitely want a seat at the table for that one, definitely let me know. But we only got like a couple more matches before this tournament wraps up. It's actually done at the beginning of January. January 11th is going to be the finale for that. But yeah, if there's any open spots, I'll definitely tell Mike. He can relay the message back to you, and definitely, yeah, feel free to join that panel.
I appreciate that. I'll be honest.
Oh yeah,
all right, brother. Well, we appreciate you joining, and we'll be chopping these up. This will be up sometime this week. If not tomorrow, it'll be Tuesday. And yeah, hopefully we'll have you again anytime you guys.
Oh yeah, definitely. If I got time, yeah, I'll definitely join the panel for sure. But yeah, salute, fellas. Definitely keep it good. Very, very dope.
Appreciate you. All right, brother. We'll get up. We'll talk.
All right, take care.
Yep.